Hello, and welcome back to Spaces or Laces. I'm your host, Jeff Meyer. We got a big game in Morgantown tonight. Number 13 WU is home, and Baylor's coming to town. Should be a good, exciting game tonight. Unfortunately, I can't go to the game, but I will be watching. Fortunately, I got work, it's work. But anyhow, WU should be able to pull off the game tonight. They're a 13.5-point favorite at home. Should be an exciting one. It's Halloween weekend, big home game for WU. So it should be an exciting weekend in Morgantown with Halloween. And then tonight kicking off, which should be a nice home win, especially after recently falling to Iowa City. So hopefully WU, number 13 in the country, gets back on track and handles business. Because they got Oklahoma coming to town in a few weeks for Thanksgiving, which should be a very, very fun and eventful game. But today, had a few weeks off, so today I want to get back and talk about the Steelers a little bit. 2 weeks ago, I wasn't able to have a podcast. Had a lot of stuff going on at work, just a rough week. Then last week I was on vacation. I was hunting in Wyoming. It was very nice to get away from work, enjoy the outdoors, go on a nice hunting trip, spend some time with my uncle and dad, which was a lot of fun. It was just great experience. It's one of those things when you're out west, it's just unbelievable, the scenery and just everything's breathtaking. It's just so nice. So it was really nice to recharge the batteries and enjoy a nice week away from work and life in general. But just want to get into Steeler football now. So after 7 weeks, we're entering week 8 now. Steelers were on a bye last week, and the week before they knocked off the Bengals. So after 7 weeks in the NFL season, the Steelers are back on top of the AFC North. And after week 1 and 2, myself included, Steeler Nation, everyone, the sky was falling in Pittsburgh. The sky was falling. You start off the season with a horrible tie to the Cleveland Browns. Now, week 8, a few weeks later, they get to redeem themselves at home against Cleveland. The Browns are 2-4-1 so far, so it's a good chance to redeem themselves for a week 1 tie and get another W at home. So I'm excited. I'm going to the game on Sunday. But after 7 weeks, Steelers are top in the division, which is kind of unbelievable. They're ahead of the Bengals and the Ravens, who both have been playing extremely well. But because of the winning percentage with that tie, it allows the Steelers to squeak right above the Bengals and the Ravens in the AFC North. Kind of crazy, especially because at that home loss to the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. I thought that was like a pinnacle point in the season, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. Steelers aren't going to make the playoffs, but hey, who knows? There's a lot of season left, and at this point, I'm feeling confident again. I got my Le'Veon Bell jersey on. I'm feeling confident. Talking about Le'Veon Bell, he's still not back, hasn't signed. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. All I know is this jersey, if Le'Veon Bell doesn't come back and ends up getting traded or released or becomes a free agent on our team, I'm going to have to get the back restitched and put Woodson on the back because this is my favorite Steeler jersey. And right now I'm basically ashamed to wear it, but I figured throw it on for the podcast today in the hopes that the Steelers and Le'Veon Bell rectify this whole situation, which is not looking good, as I just mentioned. We're week 8 now. I'm guessing Le'Veon Bell is going to hold out as long as humanly possible till he has to sign that franchise tag so he doesn't forfeit this season and then get franchise tagged again next year by the Steelers. But it's just a bad situation with Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers. And it's getting to a point now, if we trade him, we're probably not going to get the necessary compensation for him. I don't think we get a first rounder, which would be nice. Which, talking about first round draft picks, the Raiders. I don't know what Jon Gruden is doing. I'm under the assumption that Jon Gruden, coming into the season, talked to the Raiders organization and basically laid it out like this. I will come coach your team if you guys give me 100% authority and basically give me free reign to do whatever I feel is necessary for this organization to win. I mean, they paid him $100 million for 10 years. So I think Gruden went in and was like, hey, this team can't win a championship. I'm going to need to blow this up. I need draft picks. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the Raiders back on top. You need the You need to calm down, let me do my job, and don't worry about it. Don't put me on the hot seat after a year or two. He's like, I'm going to need 3 to 5 years to do this, and I'm going to make this a winning organization. That is the only thing I can think of with the Raiders. Because at the beginning of the season, they traded Khalil Mack for 2 first-rounders, and now they just sent Amari Cooper to the Dallas Cowboys for a first-rounder. And honestly, it's a great trade. Great trade for the Raiders. Amari Cooper is a phenomenal receiver, but he's one of the most up and down, hot and cold receivers you'll have in the NFL. One week he'll have 200 yards, 10 catches, 2 touchdowns. Next week he'll have 3 drops, 1 catch, and maybe 20 yards. That's Amari Cooper for you. So now, I believe, if I remember correctly, the Raiders now have 5 first-round draft picks. Not 1, not 2, not 3. They have 5. With 5 first-round draft picks, you can significantly change your roster and the organization as a whole. So with the Raiders, honestly, I hate to say it, I think he's tanking. I think Jon Gruden's tanking. I think he's doing enough to make the Raiders competitive, but not have a chance of making the playoffs. So he's not 100% going out there and just throwing out scrubs. I mean, he's still a professional football team that has the ability to win a game here or there. But as far as playoffs concerned, the Raiders are done. I was high on the Raiders. Marshawn Lynch went on IR. He's out for the next 8 weeks, I believe. Raiders are done. I saw an article too. I'm going on a Raiders rant here. I've liked the Raiders last couple of years. I'm a big Derek Carr fan. And the fact that he was kind of called out by his fellow teammates I remember reading the article, something about crying when injured or something. If you don't think Derek Carr is tough, first thing you need to do is look at that broken leg injury for a couple of years ago. I think that was 3 years ago now, 2 years ago, can't remember. It was a little bit ago. And if you don't think that guy's as tough as nails for obtaining that injury and then coming back to NFL, dude, his toughness isn't a problem. Yeah, he might not be the same quarterback since that injury, because I don't think he is. Before that injury, Derek Carr was on pace. He was on pace to be a great quarterback, have a few playoff wins, maybe a Super Bowl run here or there. I don't really know. The sky was the limit for Derek Carr. Now, after that injury, things haven't gone his way. He had a very subpar season last year. This year is not going well. As I said, I think Gruden's tanking the Raiders. He wants to rebuild that franchise. But from what I see, Derek Carr is Gruden's guy. Unless there's quarterback coming out in college that Gruden's very high on, I think Derek Carr is still his man, and I think Gruden's keeping him in a couple pieces and then wants to rebuild around them. But, I mean, time will tell. I was very, very high on Gruden and the Raiders coming into the season. You had some talent. You had some pieces. But it looks as if Gruden's dismantling that team and trying to make it his own. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not Jon Gruden, but I don't know. We'll see. At the end of the day, I don't like it necessarily. I thought Amari Cooper was a pretty good receiver. I wouldn't personally trade Khalil Mack. He's a game changer. I think I said earlier in the year, it's one of those things like you trade Khalil Mack for 2 first-round picks. It sounds good. It looks good on paper. But there's no guarantee those 2 first-round picks are going to be half the player Khalil Mack is. Khalil Mack is probably the best linebacker in the NFL right now. Pass rush, he brings the heat off the edge. He's a great pass rusher, edge rusher. I don't know if either first-round pick that they're going to get from trading him is going to be half or a tenth or anywhere near Khalil Mack's impact on a football field. That's the thing. It's kind of rough. It looks good on paper now that the Raiders have 5. They have 5 first-round draft picks, but they could be 5 busts. There's no guarantee. It's the NFL. I mean, the NFL stands for not for long. So even if you draft 3 out of those 5 players and they're above average, they might only be above average for 2 years. It's not like the Raiders are guaranteed to now have 5 first-round draft picks and draft 5 Khalil Macks or 3 Khalil Macks and 2 Amari Coopers. That's not how it works. So, I don't know. I'm kind of bent out of shape about that. I don't think it's necessarily... I don't know. Time will tell. I'm just not very high on it. But with the Steelers, getting back to the Steelers now, with draft picks, Le'Veon Bell is worth at least a first-round pick in my mind. So we're a week 8 now in the NFL season. He still hasn't reported. James Conner's playing well. The Steelers are at the top of the AFC North, even though the horrible, horrible start to the season, getting destroyed by the Chiefs, getting beaten up by the Ravens, tying the Browns. They beat the Buccaneers. They beat the Bengals. They beat the Falcons. Hey, top of the AFC North. But the whole Le'Veon Bell thing is going to be really interesting because I want a first rounder for him. And this thing is, you can't just let him walk. You need to acquire something for him because at this point right now, you kind of got to look at it, he's a rental player. And since James Conner is doing so well, it's like, I don't know. It's just tough because Le'Veon Bell is going to come back. Here's the thing. Whenever he comes back, he's not going to be Le'Veon Bell of last year. I don't care what announcer, person, TV spokesman, ESPN analyst, all this bullshit. I don't care what they say. When Le'Veon Bell comes back to the Steelers, he's not going to be Le'Veon Bell. Weeks ago, I talked about it. He was on a beach. He was boating. He was on jet skis or whatever in South Beach, Miami. Do you think he's right now? I don't know. Could be wrong, but this is my opinion. I do not think he is football ready. He is not in shape for football. It's one thing. It only takes a little bit of time. But if you're not preparing correctly, you're not putting in the work, you're not putting in the film study, you're not doing all those things that make people great players, you lose it pretty quick, especially at the NFL level. I can only comprehend at the NFL level. He's going to come back. He's going to come back fat, a little out of shape, not going to make those sharp, crisp cuts. He's not going to be the same player. And James Conner has been carrying the rock well. He's been doing well for the Steelers. He is in shape. He is game ready. He has the carries this year. Now, that's the thing. If Le'Veon Bell would come back, let's say week 10, week 9, and he was in shape, and he, avoided 150, 200 200 is a stretch. Let's say 150 touches because James Conner took him to the end of the year. That would be great for the Steelers. He'd come in mid-season fresh, get his legs under him, and then, get ready for a playoff run. But I don't foresee that happening. I don't see him coming back in a position where he can exceed. I don't see him coming back in enough football shape to contribute and help the team, help the offense. It'd be nice. Because when you have Le'Veon Bell in the backfield, you can motion him out, put him a slot receiver, and that's where this whole thing blew up in the first place. Le'Veon Bell didn't want running back money. He wanted receiver money. He's not a receiver, he's a running back. But guess what? He's a damn good receiver and a damn good pass catcher out of the backfield. So he can run the ball. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He can line up in the slot. That's the thing. He can line up in the slot, and he can beat corners. Man-to-man, he can beat corners. And that's a rare talent in the NFL to be able to carry the ball 200, 300 times in the season and catch 50 passes. I mean, I might be exaggerating both, right there, but he can do that kind of workload, maybe not exactly those numbers, but he can do a workload like that. And when you have a special player like that, and then you have Antonio Brown, you have Juju, that's when the offense becomes dangerous. And then you can bring in James Conner when Le'Veon Bell's tired. That's what's going to make the Steelers an explosive, dangerous offense, and that's what's going to push them to a Super Bowl run if the defense can ever play to their potential. But the problem is Le'Veon Bell is not going to come back. He's going to come back fresh. I'll say that, but he's not going to come back in shape. If he's not in shape, who cares if he's fresh? Who cares that he has fresh legs? If he can't play to the level he did last year, I mean, now I guess you could look at the other, on the flip side, he comes back fresh legs. He plays half as good as last year. He's probably better than half the running backs in the league. So, I mean, you can look at it like that, and then you factor in his pass-catching abilities in the slot and out of the backfield. I guess you could look at it like that, but I don't know. I just don't like the whole dynamic that's transpired with Le'Veon Bell, the offensive line. Does the offensive line trust him? Does he have the guys in the locker room when he comes back? I don't think so. I think a lot of guys, obviously looked at Big Ben. He's the quarterback. He looked at Antonio Brown. He's your star player in offense. Then you look at a kid like James Conner. He's come into the Steelers organization. Obviously, his great triumph from story overcoming cancer and that. He wants that over with now. He wants that behind him. He wants to be judged and known as a football player, which is rightfully so. And he's put in the work. He's done everything right as a professional. He comes to work, doesn't, skip meetings or whatever. Antonio Brown did a couple weeks ago, didn't report, didn't show up. He does everything right. He comes to all the meetings, workouts, all that stuff, produces on the field. Great character. And guys got to love him. The offensive line has to love James Conner. He's tough-nosed, runs hard. That's the thing. It muddies the waters for this whole Le'Veon Bell thing. If they didn't have a running back producing right now, especially a guy with the backstory as James Conner, his just personality, his charisma, everything that James Conner is, tough as nails, all these kind of things. If he wasn't those things, it would make this a lot easier for Le'Veon Bell. But it makes it a lot harder because James Conner, in my opinion, I'm not in the locker room, but I'm assuming from everything I see, has won over the locker room. And that's very hard to do sometimes, especially replacing a Pro Bowl superstar running back like Le'Veon Bell. James Conner has won over that locker room by not being selfish, coming to work, working hard, producing on the field. It's going to be hard for Le'Veon Bell, and it really bugs me wearing his jersey. I love Le'Veon Bell, but as I said earlier, I think I'm about to change this to a Woodson jersey because I don't see him being with the Steelers in the future. I don't even know if he's going to play for him this year. Like I said, if you get a first rounder, I say trade him. Bring some more talent in next year, but I don't know. It's a tough situation. There's so many rumors and stuff with Le'Veon Bell, possible destinations. I'm still big. My opinion, I would love to see. I would not love to see the Steeler, but as just a football person, Le'Veon Bell, I feel like would be a great fit for the Packers. If you look at contenders, Super Bowl contenders, where would he fit? By the Packers, the Vikings, the Patriots would make sense. Especially Sonny Michel just got hurt. He'll probably be coming back, but the Patriots have a lot of injuries. You throw him in the backfield with Gronk. You have Edelman back. Pretty dangerous offense. And then thinking about coupling them with Aaron Rodgers there in Green Bay, that'd be dangerous. Vikings, got some playmakers. Wouldn't be a bad fit either there in Minnesota, but I'm sure there's some other destinations that would work really well for Le'Veon Bell, but I don't know. It's just tough as a Steelers fan. It's very tough. Now, the one thing I'm curious to see, the Steelers, now talking about the defensive side of the ball, do the Steelers here somehow finagle a Le'Veon Bell trade with Patrick Peterson? Ooh, man, that'd be something. The Steelers went out, and Steelers organization doesn't really necessarily make splash trades or anything like that, but if somehow they can figure out cap space and everything, maybe moving Le'Veon Bell, blah, blah, not really sure exactly what would be the best case scenario to do so, but if they could bring in Patrick Peterson with Joe Hayden on the other side, that's going to help that defense a lot. Now, this, in my opinion, one of those things you hate to say, but the Steelers linebackers kind of are trash right now. If they didn't have TJ Watt, it would be bad. But Dupree not playing well. The one thing I mentioned, I think I brought up on the last podcast a couple weeks ago, Cam Hayward, captain that defense. I have not seen Cam Hayward play like a captain this year. Played great last year, got that big contract. He's not playing like a captain on defense. Him and Tuitt need to step up in the middle. When you have a deficiency at linebacker like the Steelers do, you have to be tough up front. You have to be, especially the Steelers defense. They have to be tough up front. Have to be. So if they're tough up front, you can. And if the Steelers would bring in a Patrick Peterson, Joe Hayden, Burnett at safety, Sean Davis, a couple other pieces, you can kind of cover and hide that weakness at linebacker. You can hide it, but time will tell. I would love to see it, but I'm not sure exactly what the Steelers are planning to do with Le'Veon Bell. If they would somehow make a splash trade, a trades or something, try to acquire Patrick Peterson. But time will tell. I'm going to the game Sunday. Steelers-Browns. Hopefully, Steelers can pull off another W, improve to 4-2-1, stay atop the AFC North. You still play the Ravens one more time and the Bengals, so need to handle business against some of these lesser inferior opponents like the Browns, because the strength of schedule doesn't get any easier for the Steelers. Still have to play the Saints. They have to play the Broncos. They have to play the Patriots. They still have to play the Panthers. Who else? The Panthers. I think other tough teams. They got to play the Chargers still. Doesn't get any easier for the Steelers. And the last game of the season is the Bengals. So the division could come down to the week 17, last game of the season. At least that's at home for the Steelers. But I don't know. It's gonna be a rough season for the Steelers. A rough road here to the playoffs. So the best case scenario for the Steelers would be to win the division. But we'll see what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a tough time. But at least they're atop the AFC North for now. They got to handle business against teams like the Cleveland Browns to ensure they have a chance at maybe playing for the division there in Week 17. Well, this is Jeff Meyer here on Spacer Laces. I was off for a few weeks. Just want to get back into it. Just want to talk Steelers today, but it's been fun. It's been real. I'll see you guys next week.